My name is Kabelo Mabalani. At the age of 19, I was a rock star. I had it all, including drugs and alcohol. But you don't have to be a rock star to get addicted. Drug and alcohol abuse is destroying countless lives and communities. Users are desperate for help. They want self-respect. They want to lead normal lives again. They want to kick it. The town of Ennedale in southern Johannesburg is home to a small but close-knit community that in the last few years has been increasingly affected by the scourge of substance abuse. Throughout the season so far, we've been dealing with cases of despair and looking at people who've really lost their way in terms of drug and substance abuse. But I think it's also very, very important for us to show people who've changed their lives around, who've picked up the pieces. I'm about to meet Marcel Young, who's got a good story to tell. Marcel Young is a 38-year-old recovering alcoholic and drug addict who's been clean and sober for the past 5 years. These days, what most would consider normal, like having breakfast with your kids before school, Marcel considers a blessing because he's been given a second chance he never thought he'd have again.
My relationship with my kids is awesome. I'm a father again to them. I'm a little hero to them. The mornings, I look forward to those mornings because seeing their faces, their smiles, puts me on a positive vibe for the day. My son Seth, he's 10 years old. He is my bright light. He's this passive, calm kid. He's not naughty as per se. He listens very well. Although he's stubborn at times, he loves playing games. He loves his Xbox more than his schoolwork. My kid, Kenya, she's 8 years old. Oh, she's the little diva of this house. She's always, if she's not swinging her hips at me, she's always got something to answer. She's always a point ahead. She's not, I don't think she's an average kid. She's very bright. She learns very quickly. She's on top of her game. I'm divorced, and after the divorce, the court gave custody of the kids to my ex-wife, excuse me. And I was only allowed to see them on the second weekend of every month. She's given me that out of bounds, out of the court relationship. She's allowed me, I think because I've been trying to play more of a father role.
Marcel's kids are young and innocent, and so was he once, except his idyllic youth was rudely interrupted when he was just 12 years old.
Oh, my first drink. It's like I can taste it, But unfortunately, with my first drink, there's a lot that happened that came from that first drink. I was an average kid. I was a very to myself kid. I didn't worry too much about friends. I was always at home.
Marcel is a very good child. We never had problems with Marcel. We never had to run around and look for him. He was always where we dropped him off, we could pick him up there as well, yes.
We were invited to a teacher's home. And at her home, she bought 2 bottles of brandy, Clipdrift. I can still remember it in my mind, 2 minutes past 8, that's what we used to call it. And I was a bit fearful, man, because I'd never had a drink before. I was 12 years old, and although I saw my family drinking, to me, I never had a drink. Unfortunately, on that day, something happened. Later on in my life, I realized that was the cause of where I am today. She started to give us a drink, and it tasted nice. It was strong. And I remember her saying, no, drink another one, drink another one. And I couldn't understand why I should drink another one. I drank it, and I think three drinks after that, she started to touch, and she said, come over the side, and yeah, long story short, we had intercourse at the age of 12, which I didn't even know how to do. And yeah, it was something that I could say characterized my life. After that, I started to associate women and liquor together. It was a combination for me. The events of that caused a lot of bad things to happen after that, because now I started to like this drink. And I think I was shoving the, how could I say, the scared little child. I think by the age of 16, I was already a full-blown alcoholic, full-blown. Because then I was drinking on a regular basis. We would drink during school hours. At that time, we found out that beer stinks a lot, and there used to be this little thing called Clubman peppermint punch. So you would smell like peppermint, like you were eating a sweet. You wouldn't smell the alcohol. So we started buying nips of those, halves of those, and we would sit at the tennis court during break time, and we'd start bunking class to have a drink. And you know, like I say, I became so popular that I had to play that persona every single day. Because if I didn't drink, I was this withdrawn child. When I drank, I became this child who expressed himself. After college, I was very fortunate. I started working at a newspaper company in the classified section. And as I can remember, it was, I think it was over $700 or $800 a week, which was a lot of money that I got just for typing these classified ads. Everything just became better. I started to earn more money. I got a better job. Everybody just wanted to be with me. You know, I loved the person I became. Where the bar was right opposite the place I worked. So between 1 and 2, we were in the bar and we were knocking down drafts. Before I would get onto the taxi after the shift, I would knock down a draft to 2. So by the time I get home, I was already lit up. It became so bad that I started the clique I hanged out with. If there wasn't a girl for me to have sex with, nobody would drink. I would have more than 24 beers in a day. Between the morning and lunchtime, I would have already maybe killed 12 beers already. And I remember our sales director putting myself and this colleague in charge of watching over the alcohol. You know, for this Christmas party that I had to start the afternoon. I think the alcohol came in at about 10 in the morning. So we'd pack up everything in this bowl. They had a big bar entertainment area. You know, so we were packing and they told us we must look after it. Nobody must take, you know. By the time the party started, our ties were already over our heads. We were lit up by 3 o'clock the afternoon already. I remember the woman telling me, she also stayed here in Enedal. I remember telling Marcel, come, I'll give you a lift home. You know, and I was like, no, I'm driving my car home myself. And I don't know if it's a guy thing or an ego thing, but I just couldn't leave this new car there, you know. I remember leaving Sandton. It was dark. And I remember hitting the highway. That was the last memory I had, hitting the highway. You know, the next memory I had was I didn't feel right. And I'd rolled this car.
Marcel's descent into alcohol and substance abuse seems a world away from the life he leads today. To get a glimpse of it, I've been invited to dinner with Marcel and his fiancée, Candice.
Did you know about his past?
I did. My mother will tell you I'm the type of person to, what does she call you? The birds with the broken wings.
Yeah.
That's my life's journey.
To fix the birds with the broken wings?
Yeah, so it didn't scare me.
For you, dating a new person, obviously coming out of your previous relationship, was it a prerequisite to find somebody who doesn't drink and doesn't do drugs and all that stuff? Or is it something you didn't quite think about?
No, I did think about that. No, because obviously I couldn't have somebody living on the other side of the fence while I'm living this side. It would be difficult. And I was actually just looking for someone who shared some common interests with me, and especially doesn't drink, doesn't party.
Yeah, guys, I guess let's toast to staying clean. I'll be 15 years clean this year. You'll be 6 years clean.
5 years.
This year?
This year, yeah.
Also, you're turning 5?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So, yeah, between us, we've got 20 years of sobriety.
Let's cheers to that.
I'll drink to that.
Alcoholic
drink to that. Yes.
These days, recovering drug and alcohol addict Marcel Young is an affable, friendly man who you'd consider an upstanding member of society. But it wasn't always this way. As Marcel continued his descent into substance abuse, his life spiraled out of control, and it was his loved ones who suffered, like his wife and mother of his 2 children. Lyle explains.
He'd do stupid things actually when he's drunk. He'd spin with you when you were in the car, as opposed to when he wouldn't do things like that when he's sober. His entire personality would change to somebody a bit different, and you just automatically assume it was alcohol, I guess.
One day his wife said to us, Marcel's got a problem, because there are a lot of friends coming there to his house. They wouldn't go in the house, they would sit outside, that big wall outside in front of his house. Then they would sit outside and they would drink the beers there and things like that. And she said to us, Marcel's got a problem. We said, what problem? She said, Marcel is busy on drugs. I said, no, you can't be.
I would find powders in the car, and I just started having serious suspicions that Marcel was taking drugs. I started seeing his license card and his bank cards full of powder residue, and I knew something was wrong.
Being the mother-in-law, thinking, hey, these daughter-in-laws really give a person grey hairs. Why would my child now use drugs? Until one Saturday morning, I got him right on the corner of the street. He was coming down to us and I was going out. And he had a smear on his face. And I asked him, what is this? He said to me, it's Lyle, something to do with sugar. She threw the sugar at him and I thought, there's something not right.
When I became full-blown, my job didn't even last a month. I never even resigned from the old job. I remember going to hand back my laptop and my 3G stick to the HR manager in the basement because I was too embarrassed to come up into the office.
When he was on drugs and he lost his job, he lost the house and everything, so he had to move back to our place here, you see. And we said to her, look, the best is what we can say to you. You stay as long as you want to here, because we cannot put you out in the street with the kids. If Marcel doesn't want to listen, we're going to have to talk to him, or some or the other way, we're going to get him into some kind of a rehab.
The people he started mixing with were not the kind of people that we used to know. He was used to know, obviously, his young wife. And it scared us a lot. So we could never talk to him, and it used to end up in very bad arguments at times.
That's when things started to unravel a little bit more. He'd lose his temper all the time. We'd always be fighting. The white residue would be more prominent in the car. He'd always be late to fetch me from work.
It's like there's a devil in him that wouldn't recognize that anybody, like I said, is trying to help him because they love him. It was just he had to get away from us. And I think it's because he was so ashamed of what he was doing.
I remember one day he was gone for, I think, probably 7 days, and he came back. And my children were so excited to see him that they followed him into the bathroom. And he got into the bath and he closed the door. And both of them were actually sitting at the door on the floor, just so scared that if they move, he's gonna disappear again. So they just sat there and they waited. They were playing with each other and waited for him to actually come out the bathroom. And I was sitting there looking at them, and I thought, I can't do that anymore to my children and to myself. We weren't sleeping in the same room anymore. I barely spoke to him when he was there. Everything needed to be hidden when he was there because he would just take it and disappear.
Oh, I stole from their wedding rings. I stole the cell phones. I stole tools.
You were starting to steal things out of the house. Our jewelry used to disappear. You couldn't leave money anywhere. The money disappears. And when you inquire about it, no, it's not him. He didn't take out nothing and whatever.
I remember once he choked me when I was pregnant with my daughter.
I'd come home from a bench and I was busy bathing. And she came in and we were at my mom's place. We were staying at my mom's place at that time. And she was performing in the bath. She was shouting and swearing. And I was arrogant. You don't shout and swear at me. I'm not your child. And I jumped out naked out of the bath. I grabbed her. I literally sat on her and I strangled her. I said, I'll kill you. I'll kill you.
There was one stage where I was petrified. He once tried to set the mattress on fire. He actually lit it.
I remember going to the kitchen. There was a bottle of methylated spirits. And I came and I literally threw it on them.
I had a jug of water on the side of the bed, so I just threw the fire out. And we got into some fight. I can't remember what it was about, and he actually put me out of the house. And he said he's not going to give me my son.
He made me so cross that I nearly killed him. I choked him. I put him up against the wall. I held him with one hand against that wall, and his feet was kicking on the floor. He couldn't come down. And my daughter came screaming into me and she tried to pull me away from him because she said, "You're going to kill him. His eyes are turning in his head. He's turning. Look at him. He's going to die. He can't even breathe." And I dropped him.
I didn't want to speak to him. I just flat out ignored him when he was there. I hated him. There were some days when I wish that when I get from work, somebody's going to say he died.
And then he came back and he was crying to his mother and said he needs help. Please, he needs help. And that is how he changed, and we got him into the rehab. The next day I took him to the rehab.
I never wanted to go. I went to rehab to run away from the current situation I created at home. I had agreed to go to rehab so that the heat of whatever I stole and I guess the embarrassment of what I've been doing can just cool off.
I just decided that enough is enough. So I worked until I had enough money that I know I'd be able to pay rent and I'd be able to feed my kids and I'd be able to go to work and still pay for them to go to creche. Because at that stage I wasn't getting any financial aid from him. He'd lost his job, he wasn't working. And I eventually did. I moved out over the Easter weekend actually. And I was so relieved. I couldn't care even if I had nothing. And I just said to sleep on the carpet with my children, I'd be fine. As long as I had a peace of mind. I was so exhausted. I was tired emotionally, physically. So having my own space and my own peace of mind was something I needed. The first day I moved in, I threw all the money out of my purse on the floor. Because I was like, I can just leave it here, nobody's going to steal it. Because I was so tired of hiding everything and, living like you actually a hostage in your own life. So yeah, and then a few months after that, I heard he was going to rehab.
Having experienced addiction myself, I know the value of physical exercise for one's recovery. I found it in running. Marcel found it in cycling, and he invited me for a morning ride. There's a big gap.
Yeah.
That takes place once somebody's, is on the road to recovery, and you need to fill it up with something positive. And is this your vibe?
Yeah, this is more or less what I like to do. Like I said, it takes me away from the here and the now.
Ah.
It fills that space. It's another form of getting high.
Is that trail close by here?
Yeah, it's not too far. This is a bit boring. Let's shoot off to that trail.
All right, sweet. Following our ride, Marcel took me to the rehab in which he took his first tentative steps back to sobriety. So, bro, this is where it all started, eh? This
is where the chains were broken.
Ah.
I remember my dad dropping me here.
Where here specifically?
Just here. He was standing over here and he said, "Go in and fix your life."
Mm-hmm.
And then I went in.
You went through the gate?
Through the gate. I broke that chain and I went in.
Show me how you did it, bro.
Sure, man.
So this is where the magic happens, eh?
Yeah, man. Oh.
Sure.
The 12 steps.
The Serenity Prayer. It feels like only yesterday.
Hey, man.
When I was in a place like this. 12-step program. How does it feel to be back here?
Oh, dude. The times we had in this place, this was our meeting room.
Uh-huh.
This is where we would sit and we'd unpack and we'd get guys coming here and tell us about their lives. The first week was a bit tough because here I was in a place that I didn't know, with guys I didn't know, and everybody was weird.
Ah, I've still got it. This is serious,
Yeah.
It's like, you've been doing drugs, thinking that's a normal life, but that's not normal life.
The rehab has opened my eyes because it told me exactly who I am.
As a lady, you don't know who you are.
Yeah.
You're running around chasing girls, driving cars, crashing cars, sleeping with girls, doing drugs. You think that's the life. So is this your room, eh?
Yeah, this was my room where all the magic happened.
How difficult was it for you to get involved in the program?
You know what, at first when I came in still with that I know everything. Once I started with the 12 steps, it really hit me hard. There was times when I really had to deal with, I'm not that person I thought I was. And 12 steps has opened my life so much that it made me see who I really am. And I think the hardest part was to change from that people pleaser into becoming me.
I did some bad stuff, you know. I hurt people, and it was mostly hurting people. You know, I didn't steal because I had enough money.
Yeah.
You know, I cheated on the person that I was seeing, so I was also unfaithful. But you pretty much had the same thing, you know, philandering, cheating on your wife, abusing your wife as well.
Yeah, I think.
I mean, how did you deal with the guilt inside?
The guilt of abusing her, that was the hectic one, because I did some hectic things to her. You know, I literally damaged her. Not only outside, a physical side, but inside as well. And I couldn't understand what sort of person would cause such damage to others. And I didn't expect anyone to forgive me. I came out, I did what I was supposed to do, and whether she'd forgiven me or not, it was okay. I was still gonna keep on not going back to using just for the sake that she didn't forgive me. I would try to make amends by becoming just a better person to someone else and making sure that I don't duplicate that in my life ever again.
Yeah. Do you still do the 12-step program?
Yes, still do it every day. In fact, I'm off to an AA meeting later.
Jeez, I haven't been to one for a long time, eh? Can I come with you?
Oh, absolutely.
Really?
Yeah, let's go.
Let's do it. Let's do it. I'm actually very grateful that Marcel has invited me to his local meeting. I mean, the meeting, I can't even begin to explain to you how important it has been in my recovery. A place as a man where I learned, you know, being vulnerable, being accountable, and being honest with where I'm at and how I feel. So I'm really grateful to be here. I'll check you later. My name is Gabriel and I'm an addict.
Hi guys, my name is Monet. I'm a full-blown drug addict and alcoholic.
My name is Marcel. I'm an addict and alcoholic.
Take it from me. When you're in recovery, NA meetings become so important. The same is true for Marcel. He says that he's replaced addiction to drugs and alcohol with a reliance on the 12-step program. The relationships and camaraderie formed between the men in this group bonds them together like brothers and forms the basis for Marcel's sobriety. He attends meetings like this 4 to 5 times a week. Not only that, but the group are doing their bit to fight the scourge of drugs infesting communities like Innerdale. They see each other socially on a regular basis and raise money at braais like this to get young people who need help into rehab. With the help of his NA brotherhood, Marcel has truly changed his life around. 5 years ago, he was a hopeless, unemployed addict who's lost his wife and children, and who stole from his family to feed his habit. These days, he's a loving father of a pair of children who dote on him. Once he wasn't allowed to see them, these days he gets to take them to amusement parks. Instead of being consumed about where he was going to get the next fix, now he gets to plan his upcoming wedding.
It is so awesome to be a dad. My kids, wow, I could not ask for 2 better kids. They are loving, they look up to me.
And what better way to end a day that began with roller coasters and ice cream than a family dinner? I've been invited to an occasion that shows just how far Marcel has come. A family torn apart by lies and deceit has been made whole again. Relationships have been repaired, trust rebuilt, and lives restored. Second chances are rare, and so too are happy endings. So let's celebrate this one.